is I, your host, Ethan the Dark King. How is everyone today? Good? Well, you're not about to be. Let me explain. So basically, what's going on is that I'm going to be making a response to this video. I saw. It was basically on Kirito. And I have to say, it was bad. The video tries to say that Kirito isn't a Gary Stew with no evidence or proof otherwise at all. And of the evidence that they do mention, they don't seem to actually show it on screen at all. There's even a part in the video in which they literally say, I could show you the evidence, but I'm just not going to. Which is dumb, because you're saying that we hate on it for no reason, meanwhile, your reasoning for liking your reasoning has no evidence behind it, and we can just say that it's biased in favor of Kirito. Which, both sides would be dumb for saying that, but then again, they wouldn't be exactly wrong. But, let's get into this. So basically, the dude starts off the video, basically just insulting. The dude's whole video is basically just insulting people who don't like Kirito. For example, he says that for example, it's dumb to hate the show for only one season being bad. Even though at the time which this complaint would have rationally been made would have been at the end of season 1, since this is literally half of the first season of the show. Literally half of the first season. That's like saying you can't say that someone has bad grades and is bad at school because they did good in the first 2 quarters, and then in the last 2 quarters they did absolutely garbage. Not only that, he says that which is a dumb argument, but 2, people can be mad at things that start off good but turn out bad. For example, Steven Universe started out good, but devolved into garbage. Star vs. Force Evil was good for the most part, but at the end was garbage. People don't like the shows because of the endings and stuff or multiple other seasons that were bad. You can start off with something good, and people can hate it for becoming bad. This is how, a prominent example is current comp, basically. They start off with good concepts, but they get shoved with a bunch of representation for no reason at all. There's not a reason, and it's not just there. They focus on it. If it was just there, everyone would be like, "All right, cool, I understand. Fair point." But they try to force it in, and then when people are like, "Dude, talk more about the hero things than the identity things," they're just like, No, and then you're just bad stuff, and it's just dumb. But anyways. This dude states, for example, for his argument for Kirito, not being a boring character and having character arcs. Okay, first of all, I'm gonna focus on the main series, on the first 2 seasons, because those are the 2 arcs that are brought up when saying that Kirito are bad. They're bad. But I will mention the 3rd season somewhat, okay? First of all, the reason why Kirito isn't bad in the 1st season is because we see him develop as a character. We see him grow up. We see him grow in the game. We see him train. We see him fight. We see him grind. We see him do so many other things that would show that he's progressing as a character. We see him suffer from loss. We see him change. We see him develop. We see him worry for Asuna. We see him cry for Sachi's death. Not only that, we see him go from a douchebag who, for the most part, well, not really a douchebag. We see him start out as like, a more just a selfish person who really don't care about himself to a more caring person who cares about others at the end of season one. I mean, at the end of part one of season one. The reason why people say he has no character development in season two is because, well, I mean, part two of season one is because, well, how do I say this? He doesn't change. He stays exactly the same as he was from part one of season one and part two. He doesn't change at all no matter what happens. At best, he displays emotions, which he already did in the first season. Explaining emotions is not a character arc. Not only that, Kirito getting hurt isn't a flaw, and that doesn't make him weak at all. Especially since we see that Kirito gets, literally, we see that Kirito just gets, also Kirito getting scratched and other things. Kirito has literally suffered worse and survived from it, so that's not really a good argument. Not only that, he's able to beat one of the best players in part two. He's able to beat one of the best players in the game, even though he's never played this game. How is that possible? That doesn't even make sense. This would be like being the best at Final Fantasy VII. No. This is like being the best at all Final Fantasy games, and then somehow coming over to Kingdom Hearts and being best at all Kingdom Hearts games. It doesn't make sense. Just because they're in the same category of RPG doesn't mean that you should suddenly be the best at that too. In the same way, SAO and Alphonse are in the same category of game doesn't mean that Kirito should literally be at that same level. Like, that doesn't even make sense at all. So no, he doesn't really grow at all. He just learns new things and then beats everyone. And the only reason why he dies in this arc, which is one time, is because he decides to rush head in like an idiot. He literally dies because he makes a stupid decision by himself. This isn't like Boruto who decided to kill Momoshiki. At least Boruto had a reason to kill Momoshiki because, well, Momoshiki tried to kill his dad, was going to destroy the whole Leaf Village and the world, and other stuff. And also, it was also a fight, so yeah, there's not really that much option. If Momoshiki wins, Boruto's dying, and so is everyone else, basically. In this situation, it's not the case, because Kirito could have just called for backup instead of just rushing in like an idiot. It was just so dumb. Not only that, but also the fact that he somehow beat the game creator out of nowhere. For some reason, he somehow unlocks the ability to just beat the game creator, even though the pain setting is on its highest it's ever been. This dude literally created the game and he controls it. Somehow, Kirito takes control of it. How is that even possible? That just logically should not be possible. Simple. So that's basically askable. Not only that, but Kirito suffers through that, and then when he wakes up, he's perfectly fine. But Kirito does this after he gets his Deus Ex Machina, basically does the same thing to the other dude, and the other dude is fine. And the other dude is not fine. He is very much in pain and suffering, while Kirito's just alright physically. That doesn't make sense. What? That... Okay. What? That doesn't even make sense. Just what? That doesn't even make sense. That makes no sense at all. Not only that, But Kirito's just not that interesting. He doesn't have that much of an interesting personality, and he's basic, and he's just basic, boring harem protagonist. Literally, you replace Kirito with any harem protagonist, mix them in with a boring fantasy character, and boom, that's just Kirito. It's not that he's not that special. He's just boring. Like, he's just normal. That's boring. Not only that, in the third season, he literally somehow bodies. Not only that, in the third season, he literally was able to fight people who were using guns in a video game with a laser sword. The whole point of the game is to use guns, and it can just be overpowered with a laser sword. Oh my god. Oh my god. That's dumb. What is the point of having the guns then? Why not just have laser swords then? This item really breaks the game. It's just dumb. It's just dumb. And it's just, ugh. I mean, the whole deaf thing, the deaf guy dude, I can't even remember his name. That plot was weird, I guess. The turnout was dumb and made no sense, but okay. Okay. And but Kirito becomes the king of all games in the end of season 4. I mean, the end of part 2 of season 2, which, yeah, that's fine, I guess. I mean, he's been on multiple adventures and basically became the best of 4 video game worlds, I guess. So, I mean, I guess that's fine. There isn't even much to say. Like, listen, we're not, there's actual reasons to not like Kirito. He's just not interesting. In the second third part, he's able to do things he shouldn't be able to do due to lack of experience in the game. And in the first season, he literally just uses a weapon that's able to break the rules of the game. It just doesn't add up. It's just dumb. Like, what's the point of having a game of guns if you can just beat it using a laser sword? Literally embarrassing. And heck, Shion does most of the work anyway, so it just makes Kirito out to be lazy. Lazy for half of the time. It feels more like Shion's the main character than Kirito in that part of the season. And yeah, the Elephant season was just bad. It was bad. First season was good. First season was mediocre. Fourth was pretty good, and I haven't watched the fifth, so I won't say anything on it. But yeah, that's all I'll say. That's all I'll say for now. Listen, I'm not a blind hater, and I don't hate Kirito. If anything, I'm more bored of him, basically. If you like Kirito, that's fine and perfectly valid. And if you don't, that's also fine and perfectly valid. Overall, I just think that his old video was dishonest. Yeah, dishonest. And also, it uses no evidence or proof of his points. So, yeah. I mean, there's nothing to really argue in his video because he just says what he thinks. So all I can really do is just say what I think. Yeah, so this has been it. My name's Ethan the Dark King, and subscribe and fall in darkness with me. And we'll be having a nice day. Just kidding. We'll be having a horrible time. Bye.